Hello Year 3. So if you remember yesterday, we ended chapter 18 on a cliffhanger, and the statue had somehow come to life and drawn his sword on Wilmot and Susie. So now we're going to find out what happens. It's chapter 19 and it's called Surrounded. "Run!" Susie shouted. She jumped to her feet, dragging Wilmot with her, but there was a movement all around them now, as every statue in the room stepped forward, swords drawn. Susie cursed herself for not recognising them sooner. They'd been hiding their faces, but she should have realised that these were the same statues she had seen at the Obsidian Tower. "What's happening?" said Wilmot, then let out a squeal of fear as the second strike whistled past a few centimetres above his head. Susie ducked and felt the stone blade brush the tips of her hair. As the attack continued, she sprinted past the statue, pulling Wilmot with her behind the nearest pillar. "We need to get out of here," she said. "Is there another door?" "There's a secret exit." It was Gertrude's voice, and they had turned to see her sheltering behind the adjacent pillar. She had Derek and Mr. Trellis with her, at the back of the room behind two of the lockers. "Get everyone out through there," Susie ordered. "I'll try and lead the statues away." Stone hands reached around the pillars and grabbed at them, forcing them to break from cover. Two more statues swung their swords at Susie as she raced across the aisle, but she had the split-second head start she needed, and their blows both fell short. She made it to the cover of the opposite pillar, pursued by flying shards of granite. Wilmot joined her a second later, pale and breathless. "How will you lead them away?" he panted. "I've got what they're after," she said. "They're bound to follow me, and they're strong, but they look clumsy. I think I can make it. You help the others get to safety." Before he had a chance to argue, she slipped into the middle of the aisle, straight in between four of the large figures. Fear made her catch her breath before she found her voice. "I'm here," she shouted, holding Frederick aloft for all to see. "If you want him, come and get me." "You're going to get us killed," Frederick cried. But the ploy worked. All four statues lunged for the snow globe, momentarily forgetting their swords and each other. They crashed together with a noise like a cannon firing as Susie threw herself down on the ground and crawled on her belly between the nearest statue's legs. The impact seemed to have disorientated them, giving Susie just enough time to regain her feet and start a desperate sprint down the aisle, away from them and towards the main doors. "Everybody out!" she shouted to the old guard, who had taken shelter behind the other pillars. "Follow Gertrude through the back." The statue nearest to her raised its sword, and Susie saw it too late. Its aim was sound. She skidded to a halt but slipped, landing on her back and staring helplessly up as the blade swung down in a vicious arc towards her head. She didn't even have time to close her eyes. That's why she saw the tip of Mr. Trellis's stick appear and strike the statue a glancing blow on the arm. The stick shattered into matchwood, but it was enough to deflect the statue's swing by a few centimetres, and the sword buried itself in the marble beside Susie's head. The noise it made was deafening, running through her like a bolt of electricity and making her scream. But when she rolled clear and put a hand to her ringing ear, it was still attached to the rest of her. She scrambled to her feet, dizzy with shock. "Upstart furniture," Mr. Trellis shouted. "Overblown shop window dummies!" He gesticulated with the shattered nub of his stick until Dorothy appeared and seized him by both arms. She dragged him away towards the back of the room, where Gertrude had succeeded in opening the hidden door. Susie turned and fled. The distraction had saved her, but it was over too quickly, and all 6 statues were now marching on her as one. There was nothing between her and the doors, but she felt no sense of triumph as she reached them, just a finely tuned panic. "I can fix this," she told herself. "I've got the neuroglobe. If I can get to the express, I can get to the ivory tower, turn Frederick back to normal and fix this. I can fix everything." She burst through the doors, but instead of the corridor, she ran face first into a smothering darkness. It was as black as night, as cold as frost, and had hard, pinching claws that held her fast. She fought against them but was carried helpless back into the vault. With a crash, the statues stopped their pursuit and stood to attention. The shadow set her down on her feet and flowed around her, pouring itself into the room like a tidal wave of ink. "What have you done?" wailed Frederick. Susie barely heard him. She was too intent on the hunched figure, now emerging from the seething darkness. Her one consolation was that the trolls had had time to escape. "There you are, my girl," said Crepuscular, drawing to a halt in front of her. "Aren't you tired of running yet?" And that is the end of the chapter. Tomorrow is chapter 20. A good deal goes bad. Tune in for that. Bye for now.